Welcome, everyone. This is Mental Iron, Lesley Timbol. I'm happy to have you guys join me. I just finished a great episode with Dave Palumbo on iron therapy. We had Roman Fritz, which was amazing to have on. He's a great guy, guys. I don't know if you guys know Roman. He's an IFBB pro open bodybuilder. He's going to be competing in a few weeks. He just joined the podcast with Dave and I. We did an episode on extreme behavior. So today at my live here, we're going to talk about some extreme behavior as well. Now, if you guys have questions, please post them in the chat. And they don't have to be questions necessarily on that specific topic. I'm happy to cover other topics as well. So one of the questions I did get asked a little bit before when we did an episode on hypergymnasia, so people who exercise too much, I just wanted to address a couple of questions. And because we're talking about extreme behavior, this kind of fits under that umbrella too. So basically, here's the thing. People are now getting into more the fitness component. So they're basically training harder or longer than ever than before, and they're getting some good results. But the question is, can you train too much? Is there such a thing as overtraining? Now, I know this is a bit of a hot topic because there's some people who are saying there's absolutely no such thing as overtraining. Now, if there's anyone in the chat that wants to have a conversation about this, I'm happy to do that. You don't have to agree with me. I'm not the type of person that feels that you always have to agree with me. If you disagree with me, that's fine too. I don't mind that. Put that in the chat. Like I said, if you have questions or comments, just put it in the chat and I'm happy to address them. But when we're talking about overtraining, so basically when someone says I'm overtraining, let's talk about people who, let's say they still like working out. Hypergymnasia, just to distinguish it, are people basically who train to the point where they don't enjoy training anymore. So let's put that out there. And they train to the point where they ignore other pieces of their life. So they actually might miss work. They might miss meals. They might miss, family engagements just to be at the gym, just to hang out or work out or train. That's more where the hypergymnasia is, because someone said, well, I like to work out. I'm at the gym for a long period of time. What's wrong with that? And again, it depends. If we're talking about isolated moments of time, and that can include, some people think that 3 hours is too much in a gym. Well, it depends on what you're doing. It depends on how you're training, how long you've been training for. I wouldn't necessarily say that a beginner should be training in the gym for 3 hours. I think that's overdoing it. But when someone is overtraining, how do you know if you're overtraining? And this is assuming this is not the hypergymnasia I was talking about before. This is talking about people who just love training, but maybe they've done it too much. So what do you consider that? What's too much? Too much is when you're in the gym and the weights are starting to go down. You're not able to lift the same amount of weights. Now, this has nothing to do with injury. When I'm talking about overtraining, I'm talking about people who might be doing 2 workouts, and I'm talking about weight workouts a day, and they're doing it for a long period of time. To do it for a short period of time, it could be for a few weeks, would be fine, especially if you're trying to build up a body part. But when you're trying to train and you're in the gym, and again, if you're one of those people who trains in the gym for 3 hours a day for, 5-6 days a week, and your body's still responding well because you're also feeding it properly and you're hydrating it and you're getting rest, okay. And if that's what you enjoy doing and you're still enjoying other things in your life, great. There's nothing wrong with that. When I'm saying the overexercising or the overtraining part, it's when you're hitting a plateau or your performance in the gym is starting to decrease because of the number of times and the intensity of which you're training. Then you might need something called rest. Now, I remember the first time someone said, Lesley, you're overtraining. This is one of my coaches a while ago, said, you need to rest. Well, for me, rest is a 4-letter word, and other 4-letter words came to my mind. So I didn't like that because I like to train, but my performance started to go down. So I was actually overtraining. Hey, Kevin, nice to see you. I'm doing well, Kevin. Thank you for joining the chat. I appreciate it. And Kevin, if you have any questions or any comments, put them in the chat. I'm just kind of rambling on, but we can talk. I'm just talking about over-exercising right now, but we can talk about any topic, okay? So when people say, when I am feeling I'm at a plateau or my performance in the gym is starting to decrease, and again, this is assuming there's no injury, what can I do? And it is taking a rest. And that might mean taking a week off the gym. And that can be very frustrating, because if you love the gym, because there's a lot of benefits, not just the physical benefits, but there's a lot of mental and emotional benefits. Being able to go to the gym atmosphere gets you out of the house or away from work. It's a change of atmosphere. This is what I call me time. It can be very therapeutic. But if you overdo it, you might need to take a break to give your body a bit of a break so it can kind of heal and get back into the swing of things. So when I say rest, I'm not saying, resting, you have to take like a 6-month sabbatical from the gym. No. But even people who compete, when you do a competition, and I'm just saying, when people do extreme kind of training to get ready for a competition, it's not unusual to overtrain to get ready. And this is short term. But after the show, most people, after they compete in a show, do not go to the gym the day after. Now, they might go to the gym the day after, maybe to do a little bit of cardio, or maybe some very light weights, but very, very light, if that. They'll usually wait a couple of days, sometimes even more than that, before they go back into the gym. And that's okay. Now, if they go back to the gym, it might be because they have a show the following weekend, so they have to stay on track, and that's a little different. But if we're talking about people who are not competing, and they're just trying to exercise, but they're overdoing it. They might be saying, well, because I love working out, I like the benefits of it, the mental benefits of it, then why would I need to stop working out? Even if I'm starting to plateau as far as my results, or if I take my weights down because I can't lift as heavy, if mentally it's doing me good, then I'm okay with the physical not doing as well for a little while. Well, in theory, if that stayed as it was and then it would ramp up again, your physical weight, that would be great. But the problem is, when our body gets tapped out, it needs a break to be able to, get back to a place where it can start pushing hard again. It's like if I said to you, for you to be able to go an entire day, we're talking about a 24-hour day, without any sleep at all. Now, I'm sure everyone's had some sleepless nights, or nights where you're tossing and turning, but that affects your performance the day after. Now, if you keep having a bunch of sleepless nights over and over and over again, you're not going to be able to focus, and your ability to concentrate, or your decision-making capabilities will be really affected. And it's not going to get better with time if the sleep is still being decreased. Think of it that kind of analogy, like the gym. So for people to get that mental piece, if they're not allowed to be in the gym, I'm saying, okay, well, let's look at this. If physically your body can't handle more, what can we do where you're still getting some type of mental benefit from the gym? That might mean, instead of doing weights, what about doing physiotherapy exercises? So we're not talking about weight-bearing exercises. It could be body weight. It might be using bands and doing just a bunch of stretching. It might be doing some yoga. It might be doing some Pilates. It might be doing some stretches. So it's not weight training per se, but you could still go to the gym under different guise. So when people say, I have to go to the gym every day. Okay, well, let's change how you do it. So you'll still keep active, but you're doing something different for maybe a period of a week or so your body can recoup, and then you can go back to weights. So that's what I tell people when they do overtrain. I'm not saying you have to stay away from the gym. I'm saying stay away from the weight training and substitute it with something else. Because the problem with the overtraining piece is that if people continue overtraining and they keep pushing the envelope, as we often can do, it can actually affect your ability to recover, first of all, physically, but it also can mentally lead to symptoms of depression, low motivation, anger, even eating disorders. So the idea is we want to be able to nip stuff in the bud and not allow things to escalate for a long period of time. It can also affect your self-esteem, because if you're used to doing a certain weight with an exercise and all of a sudden you can't even do half that weight and it's just getting lower and lower and lower, that's going to do a number on your brain. It's one thing to have an off day, but if you're having weeks and weeks and weeks where the progression's you're starting to regress instead of progress, like I said, that's going to do a number on your brain. So Other things that you can do as far as symptoms, how do you know if you're overexercising or overtraining? Depleted energy stores is another factor. So, and again, this is assuming you're not in prep. Let's say unusual feelings of heaviness, stiffness, or soreness in muscles, needing longer periods of time to rest, whether that's at nighttime or in between sets, mood swings or irritability, or trouble sleeping, feeling sore muscles or your limbs are really heavy. Not just heavy, I just did a heavy workout, but it's just such an effort to do any kind of working out, more effort than, let's say, before you felt overtrained. You can lose also motivation. If you're going to the gym and you're not getting results, that can be very discouraging as well. You can also be susceptible to getting more colds, so you can get sick. You can start losing weight because you're not giving your body ability to heal itself. Remember, muscle isn't built in the gym. What we do in the gym is we actually tear the muscle fiber apart a little bit, not to the point of injury, but a little bit of tearing, and then we rest. The body's response to that is to heal it, and that's how it becomes bigger. So we want to tear it a little bit, not injure it, but a little bit, so it can grow. But your muscle can't grow if you don't give it enough rest. I know it's a horrible 4-letter word. I understand that, but unfortunately, that's how muscle works. The problem with the overtraining, and then what people will do is that they're saying, okay, well, if I can't train the way I want to, or I have been training, then I have to eat less. So when they have this perception that they have to do more because they can't lift as much, then they end up under eating. That can actually cause you to lose muscle mass. And who wants to lose muscle mass? For a lot of people, now some people, there's outliers. Some people lean muscle mass very easily. I'm talking about the normal population here. I'm not talking about the gifted, where we struggle. Like for myself, I struggle to put on muscle mass. I do, and to keep it on, it's very hard for me to do that. So if I get a half pound of muscle in a year, cool. I want to hold on to it. So, we work really hard. So, to lose that muscle mass can be very discouraging for sure. So the thing is also what can happen is that can lead to injuries. Before I was saying, let's assume you're not injured. If you keep pushing the envelope, it's inevitable there will be an injury because you're not taking care of your body properly by letting it heal properly. And the thing is with fatigue, when you get tired, your immune system can go lower and you can be susceptible, not just to colds, but anything that's going around the gym. So, let's say flu, or, there's a whole bunch of other things that can happen, but you don't want to be sick. Who wants to be sick? No one I know wants to be sick, because a lot of times if you're sick, you can't work out properly, and affects your ability to focus, to do the proper work. You can't recover properly. So again, you want to try to be as healthy as possible, and that includes taking care of your muscles and not overdoing it. Now, if you overdo it in the gym one day and you're a little sore, that's not what I'm talking about. You can either put heat or ice it or see your physiotherapist. If it's kind of like a short-term, like one, you overdid it in the gym, let's say if you did leg day. Well, it's very natural to feel sore in your legs day one, and especially day 2 after leg day. That's normal. That doesn't mean that you're overtraining. It could mean you're overtraining if you injure yourself, if you feel something spring that's not supposed to happen, or something happens with your hip or your knees, or, pay attention to your body. That's what it really comes down to. Something doesn't feel right. Don't push through it. It's your body's way of saying, uh-oh, red flag here, be careful. So proceed with caution. But some people are like a bull in the china shop and say, screw that little warning. I'm just going to go for it. Problem is, that's when injuries happen. So just try to listen to your body. If you are feeling a little off, and you'll know when you're feeling off, but just kind of be really present and focusing on the muscle that you're trying to work on. So when people say, okay, well, what do you do with people who have problems with overexercising and they can't stop themselves? Even though from a thinking cognitive level, from an intelligence intelligence level, they know I'm training too much. My body's starting to suffer. My weights I can't lift the same kind of weights. I know I should stop, but I just can't stop myself. And I know I should rest, but I just can't stop myself. Okay, well, that's a reality too. So, a lot of times they might need to see someone like myself to get some type of treatment and accountability to be able to do what they need to do. I do something called cognitive behavioral therapy. So I do a lot of what we call cognitive restructuring, and that all that means is just a fancy term of how we process our information and really challenging the information we do have, because we buy into what I call a narrative, a kind of a belief system. And it's about taking apart that narrative, creating a new narrative that's more accurate, and putting strategies into place that the person can execute on those strategies to get better results. And, there's actually something we do in what I do with my clients. It's called problem solving. You're like, well, people can problem solve. Yeah, but sometimes when it comes to our own lives, we can't see it the same way. Yet if we have a friend who's going through the same thing, we can be a bit more objective. But when it comes to ourselves, sometimes we can't see ourselves from an outside lens. By definition, we can't be objective about our own lives. So that's why sometimes it helps to see or talk to somebody else. So, that's just me kind of rambling on a little bit about over-exercising. But like I said, if you guys have any questions, whether it be over-exercising, whether it's about the hypergymnasia, whether it's about a totally different topic, I want you to put it in the chat. And for people who are watching the chat after the fact, because it is in the afternoon, and I appreciate people are working right now, or the majority of people do work at this time of the day, depending on where you live in the world, you may not be able to see this until after this is posted. So if you say, you know what, I couldn't join the chat, Lesley, but I had a topic I wanted you to cover or a question, just put it in the comments below, because I will respond there, or I'll answer it next week during my live Q&A. Because I always do my Q&A, means question and answer. I always do it after the Iron Therapy episodes on Mondays. So today, I think we finished around 2:30. So I think we started here around shortly after that. So it's never the same time, because sometimes if Dave is a little late, then I end up starting Mental Iron a little bit late. But it's always after the Iron Therapy show. So like I said, if you guys have further kind of questions or ideas even for future question and answers, or even for their Iron Therapy, feel free to put it in the chat box, or put it in my message in the comments below, and I'd be happy to bring it up with Dave, and we can address that on a future episode. So if there's nothing else, guys, we'll end the chat for today. I just want to thank everyone for joining me. Thanks, Kevin, for joining me. I'm glad for you guys to come. And like I said, I'll be here every Monday after Iron Therapy. Any other questions, let me know. Every Friday morning, if you follow my YouTube, if you subscribe, you'll be notified. There's always a new video every Friday. And until then, guys, remember to keep your mental game on. Have a great day, everyone. Bye for now.